Introduction to Psychology. Psychology as a science. Hey, have you ever thought about psychology as a science?
Yes, I have. Psychology relies on scientific methods to create new knowledge about the causes of behavior.
That's interesting. What are some examples of research in psychology?
Research in psychology includes studies on memory, perception, motivation, and personality, among others.
That's a lot of areas. What about psychologist practitioners?
Psychologist practitioners, such as clinical, counseling, industrial organizational, and school psychologists, use existing research to enhance the everyday life of others.
So, why is psychology as a science important?
The science of psychology is important for both researchers and practitioners. It enables us to predict our own behavior and that of others and collect data to aid us in this undertaking.
That's fascinating. I never thought of myself as a scientist, but I guess we all are in a way.
That's right. We all have an interest in asking and answering questions about our world, and psychology as a science helps us do that.
The problem of intuition.
Have you ever been convinced of something without testing it thoroughly?
Yes, I have. It's easy to accept explanations for events without testing them thoroughly.
Exactly. Did you know that there are a variety of cognitive and motivational biases that frequently influence our perceptions and lead us to draw erroneous conclusions?
No, I didn't know that. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Eyewitnesses to violent crimes are often extremely confident in their identifications of the perpetrators of these crimes. But research finds that eyewitnesses are no less confident in their identifications when they are incorrect than when they are correct.
Wow, that's surprising. What other biases are there?
People may also become convinced of the existence of extrasensory perception, ESP, or the predictive value of astrology, when there is no evidence for either. Furthermore, psychologists have found that when one explanation for an event seems right, we adopt that explanation as the truth even when other explanations are possible and potentially more accurate.
So, accepting explanations for events without testing them thoroughly may lead us to think that we know the causes of things when we really do not. That's important to keep in mind.
Exactly. It's crucial to test our explanations for events thoroughly to avoid drawing erroneous conclusions.
Why psychologists rely on empirical methods. Hey, have you ever wondered why psychologists rely on empirical methods?
Yes, I have. Empirical methods help scientists collect and organize data to draw objective conclusions about human behavior.
That's interesting. But not all questions can be answered using scientific approaches, right?
That's correct. Statements that cannot be objectively measured or determined to be true or false are not within the domain of scientific inquiry. Scientists draw a distinction between values and facts.
Can you give me an example of a value and a fact?
Sure. A value is a personal statement like abortion should not be permitted in this country. A fact is an objective statement determined to be accurate through empirical study, like there were more than 21,000 homicides in Canada in 2009.
I see. Can science help people develop their values?
Yes, science can provide factual information that can help people formulate their values and enable governments to articulate appropriate policies. For instance, science may be able to measure the impact of unwanted children on a society or the psychological trauma suffered by women who have abortions.
Levels of explanation in psychology.
Have you ever wondered how psychologists understand human behavior?
Yes, I have. I know that psychology spans many different topics at many different levels of explanation.
That's right. Lower levels of explanation are more closely tied to biological influences, such as genes, neurons, neurotransmitters, and hormones. Whereas, the middle levels of explanation refer to the abilities and characteristics of individual people, and the highest levels of explanation relate to social groups, organizations, and cultures.
I see. Can you give me an example of the same topic studied within psychology at different levels of explanation?
Certainly. The psychological disorder known as depression affects millions of people worldwide and is known to be caused by biological, social, and cultural factors. Studying and helping alleviate depression can be accomplished at low levels of explanation by investigating how chemicals in the brain influence the experience of depression. This approach has allowed psychologists to develop and prescribe drugs, such as Prozac, which may decrease depression in many individuals. At the middle levels of explanation, psychological therapy is directed at helping individuals cope with negative life experiences that may cause depression. And at the highest level, psychologists study differences in the prevalence of depression between men and women and across cultures.
Wow, that's fascinating. What do these sex and cultural differences provide insight into?
These sex and cultural differences provide insight into the factors that cause depression. The study of depression in psychology helps remind us that no one level of explanation can explain everything. All levels of explanation, from biological to personal to cultural, are essential for a better understanding of human behavior.